And welcome in, ladies, gentlemen, to the Sunday edition of the Best Bets Show, driven by the Field 68, all sponsored by BetRivers. I'm Matthew Cox, looking directly across at Kai McKing, looking diagonal at Jim Root, all huddled up here in our Luxor official. Clicking with my cam, so you can play that game. Today's a fun day because the chess pieces, Burley Dickinson, is back in action. We'll see if the magic will continue. Teaser, it won't. FAU by 50. We'll get to that game and many more breakdowns. Takeaways from yesterday, Kai. We were dialed in.
Yes.
And I don't want to really address the Mizzou elephant in the room, but I guess I just did. So maybe you started with that one.
Well,
Can I get it off your chest?
That's my takeaway, Matthew. It's sad to see our season end like this, Tigers fans. But what a season it was. Optimistic for the future. Of course, Dennis Gates. He is the man for the job. We love him. Jim, at least it was a beatdown, and it wasn't close. It wasn't a heart rip. It was a thorough beating by the Orange Tigers against our Golden Tigers.
Yeah, there was sadness, but not, oh no, like how could we lose this heart-wrenching game? Like, look, they kind of smoked us. A little bit of injury issues. Hodges, head, not great. Obviously, no Mosley. It's just not been the full Mizzou team, but round of 32, good. Unders continue to roll. Yesterday, 12-2 in all games. That includes non-NCAA tournament. So just auto bet them, print money, go home. That's all you need to do. How about the spread drama at the end of Texas, Penn State?
Yeah.
Should have been an easy cover for Texas, then a 4-point play. What are you doing, Texas? And they sneak inside the number. It's wild. That's the NCAA tournament for you, Bias.
Yeah, great coaches cover, Jim. Michael Shrewsbury, great coach, despite the L. So props to him. Let's get right into it. We're going to talk Xavier versus Pittsburgh, not Princeton. Excuse me. Princeton stole my mind. I'm sorry. I'll stop rubbing it in. The big storyline here, Kai, Sean Miller against his alma mater where he played, where he was a coach. He very clearly underscored, I do not want to be remembered as the Pitt head coach. He wants to be remembered fondly as his player days. The spread opens at a field goal, I believe.
So at 5 right now.
Now it's at 5. I think I saw some bogus 3.5 openers. It's at 5 basically across the board right now. Is X going to give it to him after the dicey effort, Mr. McCann, against Kennesaw, in which those Owls exposed some Swiss cheese holes on the perimeter defense?
Sean Miller never the head coach, though, at Pitt.
I thought it was that coach.
No.
He was rumored for the coach. I thought he actually was, and then he got.
Oh, was he like for a second? Hot second? I guess so,
yeah.
Okay. Doesn't matter. Points in this one. Fairly up-tempo. Both offenses better than both defenses. We know the under trend is going strong, but I do think if you're going to choose an over, this one's not a bad one. Both teams have excellent shot makers. Ultimately, for me, I'm coming down to coaching. Sean Miller, the non-Pitt coach, Matthew. I trust him much more
Pitt
than
assistant.
Creighton.
Sorry, I thought he was an intern for the
Pitt assistant. I'm not sure I can take them by 5 though. That's a little bit too much delay for me.
Yeah, it's too many. Yesterday or 2 days ago, Xavier's perimeter defense was horrible, letting guys drive off the bounce, getting into the lane, kickouts for Kennesaw threes. It tightened up late. Colby Jones suddenly cared about keeping Terrell Burton outside the lane, and things got really dicey for Kennesaw. But Jamarius Burton can kind of do the same sort of things. He's not as quick, but he's big-bodied. He can get into the lane, kick out to those Pitt shooters. It's a tough offense to guard because of how they space it out. And we have not been super impressed with Xavier's defense most of the season. I'm not going to recommend an over. You won't catch me doing that. But like Kai said,
it does feel over.
This is at least, if you're going to bet all the unders, maybe bet this one for half a unit or something like that. They've all been bet down, so there's a ton less value on the unders. But, like I said, this one might actually have some points.
Yeah.
I lean Pitt at 5, man.
It's been bet down 8 points. Yes, I think if you kind of feel the over vibes that we did, now is probably the right time to hop in. But I don't know, the strong momentum toward unders is probably not something that I would advise going against either at this point. We continue forth here. John Calipari, he survives, he advances, and now he gets to dance against Mr. Jerome Tang and the Purple Kittens, Mr. McKeon. Some interesting matchup dynamics here. Spread is sitting at Kentucky -2.5, -3. They took some money on the opener. Another one that's been bet down toward the under as well, down to 143.5. Your thoughts?
KenPom makes us K-State -1. We saw how well the other game went yesterday when Tennessee was -3 in KenPom, and yet the market.
He's cackling right now.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Duke, but I can't laugh too much since my team lost.
Duke stinks.
I'm surprised K-State's not really getting the respect from the market. 3's a lot of points, man. This is a tough defensive team. They're going to pressure Kentucky's guards. We know they're very physical. Big 12 country is a physical league. Kentucky and Sheboygan for sure have the advantage on the glass, but their defense has been pretty so-so this year. I'm not really confident in them stopping Noel, Keontae Johnson. I like Kansas State +3, boys. That's my lean there.
Yeah, we talked about, we thought Providence had decent matchups for Kentucky's guards, but I'm not sure K-State really does. But also, everybody seeing Drum Tang's offense for the first time has struggled to guard it. It's been something we've kind of been looking at as an angle. K-State's also been better at home, though. Looked at Bart Torvik's away from home rankings, Kentucky 26th, K-State 44th. That translates more to a 3-point spread than where they're currently aligned in KenPom, where they're back-to-back, and you'd think it'd be like a pick-em. I do lean K-State, Matthew, but Kentucky is dominating on the glass. Sheboy's line last game, 8 points, 25 rebounds, was ridiculous. And if they continue to punk teams inside like that, they're going to have a much higher floor. But I do lean K-State. I think they got the best guard on the floor and the better coach.
Yeah, this is definitely a Sheway over prop game for me. Not that I'm in the prop market heavily, but it seems like this is a 30 and 25 type of opportunity.
30-25.
I think this is a big game. Yeah, K-State's front line's brittle, but I think K-State's offense
they're strong.
But they're more wingy and not as like physically imposing. But my props takes aside, I do lean toward Kentucky. I just don't want to take it up the bad number at this point. We continue with my best bet pending right here. I'll just kind of lay it off the top here. Marquette -3, absolute hammer against Michigan State. I think this Michigan State thing comes to an end today. I know they've been shooting the ball really well. I know the offense is ho-humming. They're great in transition. The guards are making shots. I think Marquette's built to stop all of that. And I think I get it done today. -3. Jim, your thoughts? I know you have a take on this one.
Can confirm, love Marquette, but I love the under more. This is my best bet, under 140. Marquette's defense since February 1st, top 25 for Bart Torvik. They have really, really improved on that end. They're now 45th on the full season in KenPom. We thought that was going to be their fatal flaw, but now it's like a legitimately good unit. We know the offense can hoop. Tyler Kolek's hand injury may be a little concerning there, Matthias. And I kind of think that helps keep the pace down where he's not looking to just sprint up and down. So I think the under has some decent value, Kai. In fact, it's my best bet.
Your best bet is the under. Matthew's best bet is Marquette -3. I support both sides here. I love Marquette, man. They can score against anybody, slice and dice. Sparty has the senior guards, right? They should be able to handle pressure, but this is a different kind of pressure. I think it's surprising to see, like K-State, Marquette's defense the first time, but the way their length and athleticism works in the full court. I think it's tough to overcome in a tourney setting. Sparty can't really guard Marquette inside, hurt Marquette inside either, which has been their kind of weakness on defense. I think Shaka brings a good game plan here. Hopefully he knows to run shooters off the line. That's what you have to do against Michigan State. They're a very good shooting team. I like Marquette as well.
Yeah, I mean, just look at Michigan State. Sorry to put a bow on this. Like their last 3 weeks. So they go to Iowa. That's the game they score 106 and lose in overtime, right? They go to Nebraska, win at Nebraska. Okay, great. They beat Ohio State at home. Okay. They lose to Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament, and they beat USC, who looked absolutely dreadful on Friday. I'm trying to poke some holes in what I'm saying.
I would say they benefited from a bad offensive foul or shaky offensive foul call that might have swung that game.
Yes.
Curious how it would have played out had that.
Good point.
Called it. Yeah.
All right. What is next up on my chronological order here? I've lost
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's. God, St. Mary's. Shame on me for fading St. Mary's last game. I knew better. I've been hyping this team up all year, and sure enough, they got the better of Mike Rhodes and VCU. The Ace Baldwin injury, may have played a part, but they were in control of that game, I think, early, quietly putting to bed the concerns that emerged out of the Gonzaga loss in the WCC championship. Jim, I know you're a Gale guy. What do you think about their matchup here today with who they play? UConn. Thank you.
No, I think those concerns linger, Matthew. Athleticism is a little bit their kryptonite, and we saw that happen big time against Gonzaga. Now you face like maybe the most athletic team in the country, one of the biggest front lines. I know they're really stout. They're going to battle. They're going to try to turn this into a in the mud type of game. That's why the total is so low. I still just kind of lean UConn, Kai. I think they're going to have a major edge on the offensive glass, despite how disciplined St. Mary's is. The one concern for me with UConn is I think you can tease them into bad shots.
Hell yeah.
And St. Mary's will force you into it. They'll run you off the three-point line. They'll let you live in the mid-range. And if UConn just keeps firing away from there, then St. Mary's is going to hang around. So lean to UConn, but this is a pretty non-confident spread take for me.
This feels a lot like Gonzaga versus St. Mary's to me.
Or last year, St. Mary's versus UCLA, second round.
Right. This is except UConn can defend. They score almost as well as Gonzaga, but they can actually defend. I think that's kind of scary. Yale's second best defensive rebounding team in the country. They definitely box out as a team, but I think UConn finds success in the glass against anybody. There's a major athleticism edge against St. Mary's, which we've seen them struggle against those type of teams in the past. And they have that high-powered offense that Gonzaga had so much success against St. Mary's fantastic defense with. I do trust Randy Bennett a lot more than Dan Hurley. I don't even think it's close from an X's and O's standpoint, but 4 seems about right. I do lean towards UConn ultimately. Again, I just think they're a little bit too high-powered, Matthew, for St. Mary's.
I like those comparisons. The UCLA one's interesting too. I think the back cutting that we saw St. Mary's have success with against VCU, like an aggressive in-your-face type of defense, I think they can replicate that blueprint today against UConn, who kind of does the same thing. Now, UConn's talent, size, speed, different class, and I think we saw that play out against Iona, despite the coaching advantages we talked about. Everyone's like, "Ooh, it's just going to be a close game." Dan Hurley shaking his boots, and sure enough, just the better team with the better players kind of leaned on the inferior opponent over the course of 40 minutes. Stay away from me, but man, I think it's going to be a close one. I do think St. Mary's competes here.
You're going to lock that take in on Vaulted?
Jim, it's a perfect app. Thank you for that transition. Seamless. Before we get to chat about questions, do we have any, by the way? Are you guys czarring and rounding?
There's no questions. We're talking about every game.
Man.
Okay. Well, I know people have questions. All right. God, sorry, Chat Mounters, my co-host here. I have no interest in hearing your opinions. I'm sorry. But if you ever get tired of proving to your friends and buddies, colleagues, cohorts, that you were right about something, which I never get tired of this. It's kind of one of my all-time favorite pastimes. As I like to beat Kai over the head over my correct takes versus his wrong takes.
Yeah, Duke sucks.
There's now an answer to these problems. There's an app. It's called Vaulted. You can basically store all of your predictions, your opinions into one little chamber, and then you can unveil it to all your friends. Keep it locked and loaded there, and then just present them when the receipts are due, I guess. So make sure you guys check it out. Next 3 months, over 50 pools we release. So yeah, download the app, and I believe the link should be on the screen below. And if not, we'll be tweeting that out, I believe, fairly soon. So Vaulted, write it down, get it. Chat about questions. I guess there's none.
That was a perfect ad read.
Thank you.
No notes.
Yeah, we're crescendoing from the ad read yesterday. All right, on to Baylor versus Creighton. Heavyweight showdown here, Big East versus Big 12. A lot was made of Baylor's defensive issues. They haven't quite been, it hasn't caught up to them yet. Held UC Santa Barbara to 56 points. It was a low possession game. I think people thought that UC Santa Barbara would make it a grind, and they did, but they just couldn't score enough against Baylor's. You don't know how good that defense is yet. I think we'll find out against Creighton today. Kai, do you think the jump shooting Jays, as we used to call them, expose Baylor? Although this year they are not really a jump shooting Jays team.
Creighton's defense seems kind of tailor-made to stop Baylor. They run shooters off the line at a top 10 national rate, 3-point attempt rate. Okay, they rebound, they do not foul, and they have a post anchor in Kalkbrenner. I think that's a very good formula to at least slow down what is a very, very good Baylor offense. And yeah, Baylor's defense, nothing special. Their interior has been a sieve this season. I don't really trust their guards staying in front of Creighton's guards. I don't really trust their ability to stop the post. Creighton's my best bet, guys, at +1. Go Jays. Tweet. Oh, God. Tweet.
Love it, Kai.
That's what they sound like.
I also lean Creighton here. I think they got a really good test for this matchup last round against NC State. Joyner and Smith took 35 twos combined. I think that's what Flagler and Cryer will have to do today because of the way they run them off the line. They're going to live in the mid-range. Those guys can shoot. That's fine. But I think Creighton's going to be okay with that. And then the other end, another monster Kalkbrenner game loading. He had 31 and 7 last round against NC State. Probably can do the same thing against this weak interior Baylor defense. They're going to switch too much. That's always been my critique of Baylor's D this year. Puts them in bad matchups, and Creighton has the individual advantage creators to take advantage of that. So, yeah, I like Creighton as well. I'm okay with Baylor advancing in terms of futures that I bet on in the preseason. But, Matt, just looking at this from a pure matchup lens, I like Creighton.
I'm torn. I think I lean Creighton as well. Another game that's been bet down heavy toward the under 3 points from the opener, 146.
Say that on repeat. That could be like a sound drop.
I know. I go through. It's like there's a queue of people outside these books, and just the guy just bets one after another, under. Just seeing these totals fall while the show happens is wild to me. I mean, yeah, even that Pitt thing's down to 146 in some spots. My goodness. That might be an over at this point for me. All right. I digress. We move ahead to a fascinating mid-major bout between the chess pieces, as Kai calls them, in my Owls. FAU open to 13.5. Now they're up to 15.5. Everyone is betting big on the Owls. And I guess assuming that this magic carpet ride comes to an abrupt halt today, Kai, what do you think?
Yeah, FDU, worth noting, 38 spots they have jumped in KenPom since the tournament has begun. You'll do that when you upset Purdue in the way they did. The spread here today is high, but I think it's warranted. FAU is legit. We've been singing their praises all season long. They're a veteran team. They're very good with the ball. I think they can handle pressure FDU will throw at them. They have solid rebounders. They're great shooters. They're very deep. They're very poised. This number does feel about right. It's really hard to go against Cinderella in these formats. I mean, these teams tend to play to a whole different level, it seems. Something's in their Wheaties every morning. The belief they can win is real.
I like that.
But I think FAU, I lean towards FAU winning by about 20 in this game, Jim. They are that good.
You're joining this team because it's been bet hard towards the Owls.
Yeah.
I think FDU got two awesome matchups. Looking back at it, they had clearly the best guards on the floor against Texas Southern. Yeah. And then they played a power conference team whose weakness was their guards. And they were not able to keep up with FDU's speed, especially off the bounce. FAU is the opposite of that, man. That is a super deep guard group. A lot of different guys can make plays with the ball. A lot of different guys can guard the ball. I think that's a problem for FDU. And then the paint inside is going to be a complete domination. We saw that with Purdue, but they compensated for it with guard play. Now I think you have a team in FAU that can do both. Get you someone who can do both, Matt, and your Owls can.
And Rosado was awesome. And like the unsung heroes helped FAU beat that awesome Memphis team. Like Davis and Forrest and Greenlee. And they really got contributions though from the other guys. Like, the backup big and Rosado, Boyd with the game-winning drive to win it. And that's why I think this FAU team's just so good. They can beat you in many different ways, different guy, different night. Tone Anderson, you can look right here in the game, put this in the Vaulted app, kind of as you did to Purdue. I think this ends today. I think FAU 30 balls you. Just everything you do, FAU just does way better. Yeah, I do. I think this is a bloodbath today. I'm sorry. I know. Call me the villain. I don't care. I laid at 15.5. In fact, I might go down after this show and I might have a little ticket in my back pocket on my house. So.
Put a unit on it. 20 grand.
20 grand?
Yeah.
20 dimes.
Unit.
That's a 10x whale play for you out there.
Oh, 200. All right, nice. Yeah.
So, all right, we move along to the last game of the evening. Is that correct? No, we have two more to get to now, right? Yes. My Indiana Hoosiers, the most important game in my household tonight, Kai. They're playing the Canes. Everyone was thinking Kent State was going to upset them. A lot of Kent State hubbub, and then Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson kind of out of nowhere promptly quieted those naysayers. Tough matchup for IU against the U with the way they can space it and shoot it. I have some concerns here as well, but I also think this is like a complete domination at the rim. So I don't know what gives.
Yeah, Omier played against Drake, but he can't be 100%. You just cannot be. TJD is really going to have his way with him, I think. And despite Omier being there, Miami's defense inside has not been strong this season. On the other end, Indiana has some capable defenders. You really just need to take away the guards. Wong, Pack, Poplar. Fortunately, Poplar has really done well lately.
Ooga.
They are great shot makers.
He got, my goodness, he was
yes, they're all elite shot makers. It's always kind of tough to play those type of guys in a tournament setting because they tend to just go off, it seems, and carry teams. But I do lean towards Indiana here. Larinaga, I certainly like better than Woodson, but I do think Indiana kind of overwhelms Miami, especially up front.
Yeah, I think the Indiana interior defense was the angle I whiffed on in the Kent State game. They gave up 31% shooting inside the arc. Kent State just could not find easy baskets against this IU defense. No. I think Miami's kind of a better version of Kent State. Undersized front court, very reliant on multiple playmakers in the offensive end. But I still kind of lean towards IU. Best player on the floor, TJD, is going to be really, really tough to stop, and that just forces you to double, rotate. That's how the other players get open. And TJD is a terrific passer. So as long as IU doesn't get totally obliterated by the Pack Wong off the bounce, which I don't think they will. I think they're solid enough.
Yeah,
I'll ride with TJD, Matt. And of course, I like the under in this one.
Yeah, the current total is sitting at, 144.5, open to 147. Again, another rinse, wash, repeat under here. I like the Hoosiers as well. I mean, Drake shot 28% from inside the arc. Miami shot 20% inside the arc against Drake. They had no business winning that game, and they basically did it, death by 1,000 paper cuts, getting the free throw line. I just don't think that happens today against IU. So TJD, by the way, we need to get worried about our Zach Edey features, but we need to be worried.
Yeah, I think a lot
5
of
blocks
votes are,
last
I
game.
think a lot of votes are submitted, but
Good. Get your votes in now before Indiana plays them, before TJD goes for 40 and 20. Please, voters. Thank you.
Kai, across the board, just saw Creighton just went to pick. So people are riding your Creighton best bet.
You guys heard it here first. I got
team.
+1. Give me +1.
The Weaves team.
Yep.
Used to be real. And maybe it is. Lowest surgeons here out here in Vegas, the desert. Our final game of the evening, Gonzaga versus TCU. I would call this the heaviest weight of the matchups today. I guess with all due respect to
I'm
Baylor.
sad this one is so late. This is gonna be a fun game.
Fun game, up and down, most likely. TCU, that's kind of been their whole transformation recently, is their propensity to play faster, try and get points out in transition. As we know, their offense can get stuck in the mud in the half court, Kai. We know Gonzaga's offense never is stuck in the mud. It's on full blast 1,000% of the time. They did not cover against Grand Canyon. I think that was largely a fluky, not backdoorish, but they were in control most of the way for sure. They've just been rolling lately.
Mm-hmm.
So TCU, though, does the physicality punch them in the mouth, or what do we think?
I think that's their only chance. Zag's offense is unstoppable, best in the country. TCU's defense is certainly very, very good. I just don't think they have anybody that can stop Drew Timme. And with no Lampkin, they're especially exposed inside post boards, but physicality, it is on TCU's side for sure. It is a bruising style. TCU offensively, it can stagnate, but again, maybe that bruising style works against this Zags defense. Certainly a more finesse team in my eyes. Miles, again, game breaker in the tournament. He is one of those guys that can carry a team in this setting. But Jim, I kind of got to think that Tommy Lloyd threw some notes to Mark Few from his tournament battle last year with TCU. I lean towards the Zags.
I'm sure he gave him notes, but TCU also knows they can compete with this style of team that loves to run, play through big men inside. I don't know. The total being bet down obviously makes sense given the trends here, but this is one where I don't think either team's going to pump the brakes at all. Like, they're both willing to run.
Yeah.
The fact that they have a willing dance partner should speed the game up. So again, I'm not recommending betting it over, but if you bet the under, bet it smaller, that kind of thing, or maybe just sit that one out. Yeah, TCU's been way better in transition than they have in the half court, so slowing them down makes sense. Gonzaga's not going to do that. I think Ball's kind of a matchup problem here. I don't love because I think Salas probably goes on Miles, and then you don't have anybody for Ball. The perimeter defense with bigger driving guards has always been Gonzaga's like kind of kryptonite. So I think Ball getting downhill could be an issue, but you don't have to guard the 3-point line. So if Gonzaga plays more compact, then TCU could have real issues.
Yeah, I was just looking at last year, right? Arizona, the famous overtime loss that, ended the Horned Frogs' run. Arizona's kind of Gonzaga light, not to disrespect Arizona. It's actually just a good, Tommy Lloyd, the system that they run, similar to what Few does. And that game played to 82 possessions in overtime, Jim. I know that's inflated because of overtime, but so that was a very fast game. So I'm like you. I am on the under in this one, but I do not feel good about it because I think that pace will be frenetic for sure. Before we rehash best bets, or as they were called yesterday, bets. Today's episode is presented by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball pick'em, where you can win real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's game. In pick'em, all you do is pick whether a player will go higher or lower on the projected totals. That's points, rebounds, whatever stat of your choosing. If you're like me and you think TJD, for example, goes completely bananas today, just go over. It's not really a highbrow concept there. We can all figure that out. But you can win 20 times your money on a single game. You can parlay those together, roll those together in like a picks portfolio of sorts. Awesome stuff. Your Underdog's cool, slick mobile app is dummy proof. So even Glasses McGee over here can figure out how to use it. Go to underdogfantasy.com or download the app. Use the code FIELD to get 100% deposit match up to $100. Get in on the March Madness now. And that concludes the madness of our show. But I'd like to get some questions in the chat if they come in. We'll get some relax. Has anyone in the chat asked questions like how we're doing?
Would you like to hear? Do you have a breakdown of Wisconsin versus Liberty? The chat is curious about that game.
Are they doing the NIT CBI stuff again? I thought we told them last year we don't do that.
Brought this on yourself, Mr. I want chat question.
I did. I'm sorry. All right, chat. So take your CBI and NIT questions and take a.
How is TCU going to guard Drew Timme, Matt? That's a question from the chat.
Kai,
they're not.
Yeah,
doubling, I guess. Gonna have to play more Xavier Cork, which does hurt the offense a little bit.
Yeah, Cork's been exposed against high caliber competition. It's a good point. That's a. I mean, again, I think the over could be the play there. All right, yeah. As Kai is alluding to, let's get to best bets here and sign off, and we can all watch some real life action. Kai, you are on what?
I'm on Creighton +1. The Blue Jays. Go Blue Jays.
Marquette -3.
And Marquette, Michigan State under 140 for me.
That's all we have. Thank you. Good luck this week. We'll be back this week.
I don't know when.
We don't know
probably
when.
be Thursday morning talking about the Sweet 16 games.
Okay. Well, hey, that's probably right. But if it's not, just look at the Twitter. That's at 3MW_CBB, and we will be posting that schedule. So we'll confirm that. Again, good luck and go Owls.